Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep into Ayurveda today.
Yeah, Ayurveda.
Specifically, we're exploring this concept of ama, which, as I understand it, is like the buildup of toxins in the body and mind.
Right, kind of like a toxic residue.
And we're pulling our insights from a book on Ayurveda originally written in Hindi. I gotta say, this book is so passionate about the topic, really gets you fired up.
It really does. So, are we just defining what AMA is, or are we going deeper?
Oh, we're going way deeper. We'll unpack how to recognize ama, how to deal with it, and even some preventative measures to keep it from building up in the first place.
All based on what this book says, right?
Exactly. And what I find super interesting is how, even though Ayurveda is ancient, this book makes ama so relevant to our modern lives. It's not some outdated concept. It's something we're all dealing with today.
I can definitely see that. Okay, so first things first. What exactly is AMA?
Well, the source really emphasizes that ama isn't just one thing. It's actually two main types, physical and mental.
Okay, that makes sense. Physical AMA. That's got to be from like bad food choices, right?
I've got it. The book describes it as undigested food that basically turns into this waste product in your system.
Ah, like a buildup of gunk.
Yeah.
And then mental AMA. That's got to be more about like stress and stuff.
Exactly. The source describes it as the toxic residue left behind by stress, negative thoughts, unresolved emotions, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, heavy stuff,
Yeah.
literally. But it's so interesting how Ayurveda ties the mind and body together like that.
Yeah, it's a big theme in the book that true well-being means taking care of both your physical and the mental health.
Makes sense. So what causes all this ama to build up?
Well, the book lists a bunch of causes, and honestly, some of them are a little too relatable.
Uh-oh, hit me with it.
Late nights, irregular eating habits, a diet full of processed foods. Sound familiar?
Oh, yeah. Definitely guilty of some of those. And what happens when all this ama starts building up? What are the symptoms?
Well, you've got your classic digestive problems, bloating, gas, constipation, all that fun stuff.
Okay, so that makes sense. But the book also talks about some symptoms that are, well, a bit more unexpected.
Right, like a coated tongue, bad breath, even skin problems.
Wow. So it really does impact the whole system, huh? I mean, it's like Ama is trying to wave a big red flag saying, hey, something's out of balance here.
Exactly. And thankfully, this book offers a bunch of solutions. Some of them are simple dietary changes, but it also gets into some pretty intense therapies, like panchakarma.
Panchakarma. That sounds serious.
It is. The book describes it as this multi-day process. Like, what even is that?
Multi-day. Well, it's definitely not your average detox fad, that's for sure. It's this highly personalized, deep cleansing therapy that aims to, like, really get rid of those deeply rooted toxins.
Wow, a deep clean for the whole system.
Right. And it involves massage, herbal remedies, specific diets, and these gentle cleansing techniques. It's pretty comprehensive.
Though it's not for the faint of heart. The book also talks about some less intense remedies, like using specific spice blends.
Yeah, and one that really stuck out to me was tricatu. It's this blend of ginger, black pepper, and long pepper.
Ooh, spicy. I love ginger. What's so special about those spices?
Well, in Ayurveda, they're known for their ability to really boost digestion and fight ama. And the cool thing, you probably already have some of those spices in your kitchen.
That I am us cool. It's like food as medicine. And speaking of food, the book has a lot to say about what we should and shouldn't be eating to keep ama at bay. Light, easy to digest foods, warmth, specific spices.
Sounds delicious. But what about the don't list? Is it all the good stuff?
Pretty much. Processed foods, anything cold or raw, big heavy meals late at night.
Yeah.
You know, all the stuff that's tempting but maybe not the best for us.
Yeah, I see a pattern here. And it looks a lot like my current diet. No wonder I'm feeling sluggish. But seriously, this idea of food IS medicine is fascinating.
Right. It's about making conscious choices to support your body's natural balance. But hey, let's not forget about mental and
Oh, yeah, the undigested emotions and all that. How does that even work? Is it really like digestion for your mind?
That's a great question, and we'll dig into that more in part 2 of our deep dive. We'll explore exactly how mental ama impacts our overall well-being and uncover some practical tips from the source on how to clear those mental cobwebs and cultivate a calmer, more peaceful state of mind. Stay tuned. All right, so we're back and ready to tackle this whole mental ama thing. It's a pretty wild concept, right? Like, our thoughts and emotions can literally become toxic.
Well, that's the idea in Ayurveda, and it goes back to that concept of Agni, that digestive fire we talked about.
Right, Agni, the engine that keeps everything running smoothly. So how does that tie into mental ama?
Okay, so remember how we said that a strong agni means efficient digestion, not just for food, but for everything we take in? Well, that includes experiences and emotions.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. So if Agni is weak, we can't fully process those experiences. They just kind of sit there.
Exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, imagine trying to digest a huge, heavy meal when your stomach is already feeling off.
Oh, yeah, not a good feeling.
Right. You're going to feel sluggish, bloated, maybe even a little sick. And it's the same with mental MF. When we're constantly bombarded with stress, negative thoughts, difficult emotions,
Yeah.
our minds can't fully digest it all.
So it's like mental indigestion.
Exactly. And just like with physical MF, this undigested residue can start to build up and cause problems.
Makes sense. So what kinds of problems are we talking about here?
Well, think about how you feel when you're stressed out or emotionally drained. You might experience brain fog, difficulty concentrating, low energy, anxiety, even feelings of sadness or depression.
Oh, wow. So all those things could actually be signs of mental AMA.
It's certainly possible, according to Ayurveda. The source really emphasizes how closely linked our mental and emotional states are to our overall well-being. And when our minds are cluttered with undigested experiences, it can throw everything off balance.
It's wild how interconnected everything is. So
Mhm.
what can we do about it? How do we clear out that mental clutter and boost our mental agna?
Well, the good news is that a lot of the same principles that apply to strengthening physical agni also apply to mental agni.
Okay, like what? Give me some specifics.
So remember those lifestyle recommendations from the source: early sleep, early rising, meditation, yoga, pranayama.
Yeah, I remember. But how do those things help with mental AMA?
Well, think about it. Those practices are all about calming the mind, creating space for stillness, and cultivating a deeper awareness of our thoughts and our emotions.
So it's like we're giving our minds a break to actually process everything.
Exactly. And when we do that, we're creating the right conditions for mental agni to flourish. It's like creating a calm, clear space for those experiences to be fully digested and integrated.
That makes a lot of sense. And the source also talks about the importance of dealing with negative emotions in a healthy way.
Right, like not just bottling them up or ignoring them. Ayurveda encourages finding healthy outlets for those emotions, whether it's talking to a therapist, journaling, creative expression, or spending time in nature.
So it's about actively processing those emotions instead of letting them fester.
Precisely. And that process of actively engaging with our emotions, instead of just trying to avoid them, is a huge part of keeping mental AMA at bay.
So it's like mental digestion requires conscious effort, just like physical digestion. We can't just expect our minds to process everything on autopilot.
Exactly. It's about taking an active role in our mental and emotional well-being. And just like with physical health, small, consistent efforts can make a huge difference over time.
This is all so fascinating. It's amazing how Ayurveda offers such a holistic approach to health and well-being. But we're just about out of time for this part of our deep dive.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground today, but there's still so much more to explore.
That's right. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll shift gears a bit and focus on the practical side of things. We'll delve into the source's specific recommendations for preventing and addressing AMA, both physically and mentally. Get ready for some actionable tips you can start implementing in your own life today. Okay, so we've talked about what AMA are and how it can show up both physically and mentally, but now let's get practical. What can we actually do about it?
Yeah, good point. Let's dive into some solutions.
This book is full of tips for preventing AMA, and some of them are honestly surprisingly simple.
Simple is good. What kind of stuff are we talking about?
Well, first and foremost, the source really emphasizes the importance of routine.
Routine, huh? Okay, so like going to bed and waking up at the same time each day.
Exactly. And eating meals at regular intervals. It's all about creating that consistency for your body.
Makes sense, like giving your body a predictable rhythm to follow so it can function optimally.
Right. And the book also stresses the importance of mindful eating.
Mindful eating, so not just like scarfing down food while scrolling through our phones.
Guilty is charged.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about slowing down, actually tasting your food, and paying attention to your body's signals of hunger and fullness.
I feel like that's something a lot of us could work on. I know I definitely could.
Me too.
Yeah.
But it's such a powerful practice. It helps us connect with our bodies and make more conscious choices about what we're putting into them.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that ties back to the whole Agni thing, right? Like creating the right conditions for healthy digestion.
Exactly. The book also have a whole section on specific foods that can either aggravate or pacify AMA.
Okay, this is what I'm here for. Give me the goods.
All right, so foods to avoid or limit: processed foods, refined sugars, greasy or fried foods, too much cold or raw food, and heavy meals late at night.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm seeing a theme here. Basically, anything that's hard to digest or disrupts that natural rhythm we talked about.
You got it. And then, on the flip side, foods that can help balance AMA are warm, cooked foods, plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables, and digestive spices like ginger, cumin, and coriander.
Oh, those spices. We talked about those before. The Tricatu blend.
Right, they're like little superheroes for your digestion.
I love that. Super spices. But what about mental AMA? Any dietary advice for that?
Well, the source doesn't really get into specific foods for mental AMA, but it does emphasize the importance of nourishing the mind with positive thoughts and experiences.
Okay, so like feeding our minds with things that uplift and inspire us instead of things that stress us out or bring us down.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a positive mental environment, just like we cultivate a healthy physical environment with the foods we eat.
Makes sense. And the source also talks about lifestyle practices for managing mental AMA, right?
Oh, yeah. Things like meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones, and engaging in activities that bring us joy.
So it's not just about what we're putting into our bodies, but also about how we're living our lives, how we're managing stress, and how we're nurturing our minds and spirits.
It's all connected. And that's what I love about Ayurveda. It's such a holistic system.
Yeah.
It takes everything into account, not just the physical symptoms.
It's really about recognizing that our bodies and minds are interconnected and that true well-being requires taking care of both.
Exactly. And the source really drives that point home. It's a powerful message, and one that I think we can all benefit from remembering.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that we have the power to make choices that support our overall health and well-being, both physically and mentally.
Well said. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into Ama and Ayurveda.
It's been fascinating exploring this topic, and I hope our listeners feel inspired to learn more and maybe even incorporate some of these principles into their own lives.
Me too. It's always so enriching to dive into these ancient wisdom traditions and discover how much they still have to offer us in the modern world.
Totally. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep taking care of yourselves.